at least I had my other device open, so I saw that my stream was glitching out. 12 minutes, 43 seconds, man. And we crashed out. So sorry about that. Damn Prism issues. Hopefully fix the orientation here, though.
Yeah. Okay. We're still stuck with God. Okay.
We're still stuck with God. No. Nope. Still stuck with no evidence for God. But no. It's not how this works.
Yeah.
We're not staring at his chest now, hopefully. Oh no, not staring at anything. You can't see it. Yeah. No, it wasn't me. I take no responsibility. No. It was a prism glitch. Thanks for coming back. Yeah. A few people in chat too. That happened, unfortunately. Yeah, it did so for me too. I saw, but I had my preview open on the other screen, so I could see that it was like the video had glitched out, and my live button was gone. So I don't know. This stuff just happens randomly with Prism. It doesn't seem like there's like any rhyme or reason to it. Like maybe there's just too many people using it or something. I don't know.
My face. Okay, I'm tired of hearing that garbage. Now, back to Candace Owens. I just talking about that, I had to shout out to the atheists.
Yeah, that would have been a really short stream.
Oh, get out my face.
Tog, buongiorno, good to see you.
Candace Owens and her new negative energy towards the Jews.
It's a negative energy towards the Jews.
Okay.
It's like any word except anti-Semitism, right? I mean, we just can't. Yeah. Daniel Perry Sports Highlights, welcome. Happy Sunday.
I don't like these Jews that live here in, let's say, Pennsylvania, who are very, very, very who are very racial. Everybody's racial. Blacks ain't the only ones, as a Christian conservative, or a conservative Christian, I should say, since Christians believe that you can be liberal and call yourself Christians, there's no such thing. There is no such thing as the liberal text, the liberal Christians, liberal denominations. Get out of here. The word liberal does not belong in Christianity.
I love this. It's like, have you actually read the teachings of Jesus? I mean, Jesus, don't get me wrong, he said some not so great stuff, but most of Jesus's teachings seem to be very what we would call like liberal leaning, if not like completely socialist, like by today's modern standards or whatever.
We're about as much virgin as a virgin. Get the heck out of here with that garbage. Liberal Christianity. Liberal Christianity mean there ain't no liberal Christianity. If there's liberal Christianity, I can see why a lot of Christians are going to hell just right along with the rest of the, I can see why a lot of Democrats are going to hell. Okay? There's no liberal Christianity. You're either conservative.
A lot of Democrats are going to hell. Yeah, maybe so. I guess if you can demonstrate that hell exists, because once again, we're just back to this pure speculation, right? But they know it's real.
Christianity, just like you better be conservative American. Okay?
Conservative American?
Or this is where we say goodbye, because I know I'm not going to see you on the other side. I know I'm not going to see you. Okay? Anyway. Candace.
Now, I know this might blow your mind, but have you ever met a conservative Democrat? Whoa. I know. This is kind of like, most people don't think this is possible, but it is in fact possible to hold, they call it like a dialectics, right? Like you can have these two seemingly oppositional views and hold them at the same time. And then there's cognitive dissonance. So it could be either or both.
Negative energy towards the Jews. I understand where she might be a lot ticked off at, and everybody's thinking that, I was watching this I'm surprised. Lord help us. But
We're
these
not.
were the most sweetest black conservatives I've ever met in my life. Black conservatives that give a rat's behind about the Jews.
Most sweetest. Yep.
Black conservatives that that care about, you know, and they didn't mention Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe they hated Donald Trump. I don't know. They didn't mention him at all, but they mentioned Brandon Tatum, and they took his side against Candace Owens because Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum used to be like this. They used to be like inseparable when it comes to politics.
Oh yeah, no, this is intolerable.
But now Brandon is a little bit pulling away from Candace because I can understand if you're mad at, what is his name?
I don't even know specifically what Candace Owens said. I don't keep up on the Candace Owens news or anything like that. I hear other people talking about it. So, but you know, I just, judging by what I'm hearing here and, you know, what I've heard in other spaces, you know, obviously is something, you know, some blatantly anti-Semitic shit, which I think she's done in the past. Like, this isn't new. Just among, so she's just a horrible character.
Ben Shapiro. I can understand if you're mad at him. That has nothing to do with the Jews in general. And these Jews and I agree with Brandon Tatum, I'm going to repeat what he said, did not Gaza start this war? Did they not start this? Did they not start this war?
So, regards to Israel, like, and I don't know if this is just something that we don't, because it's not really in our news cycle all the time like this. Like, so we're getting it now. Like, so we heard about, you know, this attack that happened. You know, the music festival that got attacked, and it's, you know, obviously horrible stuff. But the idea, right, this narrative that's pushed on us now that this was like completely unprovoked, and all of this stuff is now called into question. Say, okay, well, what was Israel doing? Okay, yeah, it turns out that they you know, this conflict is ongoing, right, with occupation of certain spaces. So I just don't think we are in the U.S. are necessarily like always up on what's going on. So when we see this one horrific act happen, and then we don't start probing and asking questions, then we just follow this narrative that says that these people did this evil thing and they have to be, you know, whatever. Like, it's not even a punishment, right? At this point, you're not actually punishing the perpetrators. You're just indiscriminately targeting all of the people in that area. And, you know, now as this escalates and the food trucks and all of this shit going on, really think, okay, what is happening here? And the idea that either of these places need to like either of these people need to like cease to exist in order to satisfy one or the other, right, is an obvious absurdity. I mean, it's so extreme to say that, well, you have to allow a genocide on one side, otherwise they're going to genocide the other. And, you know, it's basically like the equivalent of saying that, like, you would have had to kill every German person in order to stop the Nazis, or something like that. I think it's kind of what that equivalent to. Fact of the matter, good to see you. How's my Latinx doing? I don't know. That's my take on it. I do think our role historically, like, in trying to end conflicts between other nations, has not always necessarily been great. So I don't know if that's necessarily what we should do, but the idea that we should be, you know, supporting either of these nations with like monetary support or military aid or anything like that, I think is questionable. So I don't know. That's kind of where I stand on it. But I don't blame Jews either. I don't just say, well, the Jews, you know, or look at Israel as if they represent all Jews or something like that. I think that's crazy.
And kill their babies. Everybody's ignoring that, including Candace. Everybody's ignoring that and acting like that don't mean nothing. Yes, it does. Let me tell you something. And this is what this video is about. Muslims are not victims of anything. Palestinians are not victims. The only thing anybody here in America, in Palestine, or anywhere in any country, the only thing you're really a victim of is the fact that there are other races that have it better than you. Because...
Yes, fact of the matter, I do play chess. Oh, wait, no, that's Skeptic Philosophy. I'm sorry. Yes, I do play chess, Skeptic Philosophy. I have my main account that I usually play on. That's Security Ape. And then I have a profile just for the Trusty Ape that I also play on chess.com, both of them. So you can find me, the Trusty Ape, at Trusty Ape Podcast on chess.com, and challenge me to a game, and I will play absolutely with all comers. So, and I'm showing on my thumbnail there, it's actually a few days old now. I am approaching 365 days continuously doing all the puzzles. I play live bullet matches every day, and I also have my daily games with friends. So yeah, either one. You want to do a bullet match, or a daily game or whatever, just send me a challenge for sure.
Whether they colonized you a long time ago, you need to let it go. You have your freedom to come and go as you please and do better for yourself if you don't like the colonization. The Philippines ain't still fussing and hating on, Mexicans because, there's a lot of Mexicans that are moving back to the Philippines, okay? And the Philippines, the Filipinos ain't saying, oh, well, the Mexicans colonized us, so we're victims of Mexico, or better yet, Spain, but still, same thing to me. But there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in the Philippines, a lot of Indians, a lot of Muslims, you name it, everybody's over there like America. Everybody's over there for a country that's half our size, okay? Or less. But they have more peace over there.
Philippines, I guess, are very diverse. I don't know too much about that, but I think that's kind of accurate.
They do over here, okay, about it all. But the thing is, I can understand Jews. We have a place over here called Squirrel Hill. And anything like you say hello to a Jew or something over here in Squirrel Hill, Pittsburgh, okay, a part of Pittsburgh, a very nice neighborhood of Pittsburgh. And don't get me wrong, the Jews have invested money into these neighborhoods, so I'm not hating on them, but that does not give anybody a right to be segregated. And everybody from every president I've known in my time, all the way to Donald Trump, is okay with segregation. I think sometimes we should, now, don't get me wrong, in Squirrel Hill, you have the Jews mainly own the neighborhood because they invested the most.
Wait, is he saying that we're doing segregation now? What are you talking about, sir? If people segregate, they segregate themselves. If you're talking about basically he's talking about systemic racism, right? Like gentrification and shit like that, maybe. That's like a modern form of segregation, I guess. But right? Is that where we're going with this?
Into it, I believe. Quote me. I could be wrong. And then you have also the Chinese people. So you got, all these Jews over there, and they own schools, they own property all over the place in that neighborhood and all over Pennsylvania, actually. And they own the property that belongs to the Chinese. The Chinese, their landlord are the Jews. They're living on Jewish property. The Jews brought a whole half the neighborhood, and they own the schools. They own, they own things that have nothing to do with the Jews. Okay, the real estate ain't got nothing to do with Jews, but they own it. I have a problem with people coming into our country and owning property when you're not allowed to do that in their neighborhood.
I just realized I could do that. So now there is a link in the side chat for that chess.com profile. I was like, oh, I can do this. Hey, Repeat and Improve. What's up, Jill? Used to watch this guy all the time. Yeah. I watch him with some frequency. I still don't know why. No. Not a lot of people really covered DeRoy since I think Drag was at him, a long time ago. So yeah. So now I'm doing it. You gotta Carry the torch, right?
I think you can own property in Europe. I think it will cost you.
Oh, hey, skeptic philosophy says a kind of self-segregation is not uncommon. Yeah, yeah, I would say that's true. And even with like other like I know especially like Hispanic Latino people will often tend to prefer to live in neighborhoods with other Hispanic and Latino people. Most often, not all the time, but most often, in my experience.
Fortune, but you can't own property anywhere in Asia with an American name. You have to be married to someone that's Asian or some sort to own property. I think anywhere in Asia, not just the Philippines, Japan, China, anywhere, you have to be blood related to those people in order to own property, which to me, I don't have a problem with that. Same thing with guns. I think, although I think that if they allow you to live in their country and you're no longer a tourist, you are a civilian in their country, I do believe you should have rights to guns. You should have rights to if you can't own a property, at least you can have the same fees that we call mortgage to hold on to the property as long as you are there or something. Okay, but
Wait. But does this? So I'm not sure. I'm kind of losing him. Where is he's talking? If he's still talking about the Philippines or whatever, wherever you're talking about geographically, if you go to that place, right, then you adhere to those laws and those customs. You don't get to like bring in your rights from wherever you came from, right? You have to then follow the customs and the laws of that country. So does he not realize that not all countries have like gun ownership rights in the way and property ownership rights in the way that we do? Or I don't know. Rebuke and Reproof says Drag found a new grift. He is now supposedly part of the Red Pill community. Oh, I hadn't heard that. I did know he changed his channel name and all of that, but I wasn't sure exactly what was going on over there lately. Latinx gross. If I had a hammer, your balls would be in pain.
I think that Americans deserve better treatment than what they're getting in other countries. But the thing is, and Donald Trump will say it, but he's not going to be able to fix it all because he would get in trouble with Congress and the Supreme Court will probably stop him in his tracks. The Electoral College will probably stop him in his tracks if he tried to go toe to toe with, letting these people reap what they sow. Like, we can't own property in your country. Okay, you can't own property here. While we're on that subject, okay, if I can't own property in China, Chinese people shouldn't be able to own property here. There's a guy on YouTube that I watched yesterday that was saying that a lot of Chinese organizations are buying up farmland in America. I didn't notice. Okay.
Well,
and
wait, but that would go both ways because once again, you're expecting this other country to like change their. It's almost like the reverse of this. I think would be like if somebody came, like to the United States from Canada, and felt titled to like universal health care because they have that in Canada, right? Or something like that. Now, should they be able to maybe actively vote to change that? Okay. But in this case, it's a little different because this is more like if a U.S. citizen was to go to Canada and then Canada was to say, but you can't be part of our healthcare system. You're not entitled to that, even though all of our other citizens, or all of our citizens are, I guess, is the argument here. Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, yeah, that'd be great if like it was always fair all the time. Like everywhere you go, you get the same, number of the same rights and all of that good stuff. But that's not the way the world actually works right now. Maybe, we're moving closer towards that. But it sounds like an issue you would have to take up with like whatever individual country, like in this case, we're talking about China or whoever, right? You have to say, oh, how do I, talk to these people to get them to change their policies, their views on this, rather than, what's implied here is like forcing them to do that. And how would you even go about that? I don't know. Beacon Proof forgot his new name. Fact of the matter says it's in your name. I figure that you've become trans. Oh no. Oh no. Skeptic's Philosophy says, well, China is a nation. The people are just people. And indeed. Screen's going to sleep. Okay. And then Beacon Approved. All he did was replace all his G-Man videos with videos about women's body count and debates on Fresh Fit. That sounds kind of gross, actually. Typical atheist. Dog says, sure, I guess. Skeptic Philosophy says, lies. No, yeah, I actually, this is going to be a shorter video today, fact of the matter. If I can, I might open up a panel discussion a little later, but we are going to do dinner soon, so I'm kind of just killing time while the woman's in the kitchen. Shit, now I sound like I'm one of those guys.
Okay. You know, and, you know, I don't know why. Okay. When I go over to my old part of town where my kids live, I'm reminded the gun mounts are still there, to where China was coming in every way they could to destroy this country just a couple moons ago. And Donald Trump turned me against everybody. He turned me against Mexico. I'm afraid of Mexico right now. If I went to Mexico, it would cost me a fortune, because I would go to the most wealthiest tourist attraction in Mexico in order for me to go to Mexico. China, I feel like it's something I got to do once. I got to cross that bridge that's in the sky just to take pictures and say I did it. I don't know. Japan, I think is beautiful. I think I might visit Japan before I visit China.
The link for this video? Yeah, absolutely. I'll post it up there.
Philippines, I love the Philippines, even though I've never been there yet. Everything I've heard, all the Filipinos I've met, you know. One thing I can't understand while we're on the subject is why, when you go to people's country, they treat you better in their country than they do in your country. Like, in your country, they segregate. And they don't want you talking to them. No matter how well they speak English, they only click with their own. But when you go to their country, they act like you're in charge. They act like, you know, they come running to you like lost kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get that. I've never understood that. But Americans, when they go to other countries, they will correct Americans immediately, especially white.
Apologies. Hopefully this is over soon. Okay, well, we got rid of the noise.
Well, immediately let you.
The downfall. So yeah, if somebody's trying to call me, then it fucked everything up.
No. That you have to respect the natives. That you have to respect the culture. This is the culture shock. Whereas people come over here to our country, they think we owe them something. They think that culture shock is a slap in their face. But yet Americans, they can go to any country and deal with it.
Well, you know, a lot of people come here from other countries where they have, you know, like more, like, whatever, restrictive practices or whatever, however you want to call that, right? Different cultural customs, different laws, and they say that we have, like, the most freedom and the best rights and all of that stuff, right? Like, 'cause that's why it's the best country. That's why everybody wants to come here, according to you guys, but then you complain about it because you're like, oh, wait, but why are we giving people all these rights? Then they come here and they feel entitled to them. And then it's like, hold on, wait, but you want them for yourself, but you don't want to give them to other people. Wouldn't the best practice be to, once again, to try to convince those other cultures to adopt similar practices, to give their people more freedom, more of what we've got, right? That's like a political issue, right?
No toilet paper? Oh, well, how do y'all wipe your butt? Oh, I have to wipe it with a bowl in my hand. Okay, as long as my hands are clean when I get done and don't smell like poo-poo, and I can finish eating, you know.
Is toilet paper right? Last time I checked, I don't think it is.
I'll learn how to I'll learn how to handle that culture shock. But And you don't see a bunch of Americans getting on YouTube complaining about the culture shock that they're having in the Philippines or the culture shock that they're having. And no, they'll just warn other Americans, this is what you're going to go through. Okay, and if you can get past this, it's a wonderful country. And they're moving there and they're living there, especially white people.
I'll bet you can find plenty of people talking about it, you know, in terms of it is a culture shock, right? It's something that you're not used to. It's a different practice from what you're accustomed to. And then you go over there and you adapt, right? You learn to do as they do, and then you're fine, right?
Okay? However, back to Candace Owens. I don't think Candace Owens understands the Palestinians and anything that's related to the lineage of Ishmael.
The lineage? Jesus fucking. And you think you understand. Okay, Drew. Explain it to
understand.
us.
These Jews, I mean not Jews, I'm sorry, not the Jews, oh my God, not the Jews. These Saudis and that whole Middle East section going all the way to Iran have been a pool of blood since before I ever thought about being born. And everybody, you watch YouTube, okay, it'll tell you. Wherever these people go, they take over from within. Well, how are they doing that? They're doing that because of the stupidity. There are certain Asian nations where Muslims are banned. They lost millions of people getting them out of there. There are certain Asian nations where Muslims cannot go to. I, personally, salute.
This is actually true. And, you know, there are Buddhist extremists. Interesting concept, but it does exist. There are extremist Buddhist sects out there. So you got that too.
Those places that would keep them out because they understand what these particular groups of people do. And, you know, God showed me dreams about this. I'm not trying to get Pentecostal on you, but God showed me dreams about this. And it is happening before our eyes. Again, wherever these people land, they take over. Why? Based on stupidity. Not because they're that powerful, okay? Because they don't even have to be allowed in your country. Just like Donald Trump, when he was in office the first time, he tried to do a Muslim ban. And it wasn't like a complete Muslim ban, but they were like, well, Trump, you can't say these Muslims can get in, but these can't.
Yeah, wasn't that a travel ban?
And yeah. I've had white people, civilian white people that work for corporations tell me that is one race that this is going to be the racist. I'm not saying this. This is not what I believe.
I'm not saying it. I'm repeating something that a racist white dude said.
That you should keep them locked into their own country. And that if they want to leave their country, they have to give up all that. The burqa, the hijab, we don't trust none of that, okay? That's my racist rant, if you want to call that racist. If you want to call that, you know, religious discrimination or whatever, that's fine. But
which is funny because I remember this very clearly because at one point, like under when all this shit was going down under Trump the first time, and people were trying to say they had to take off the veils. They were like, oh, we shouldn't allow these people to wear their head coverings, whatever they are, right? Culturally, like we should make them take them off. And that was seriously like in the narrative. That's something that people were saying. And then so after that, when COVID happened and the mask mandates started coming down, that's what people, like certain people were kind of conflating the two, and they tried to act like they're forcing us to cover our faces, and somehow that was similar to like veiling in Muslim culture. I remember people like trying to establish that as like they were trying to like Islamify us or something like that. It was really, really weird.
I would not go as far as what a lot of white people said.
Hey, Silverwolf, good to see you. The timestamp for this section of the vid, we are at 21:24 right at this point. 21 minutes, 24 seconds.
Okay? That is one race that should be annihilated. Because they're not going to stop. But I don't think you have to annihilate them because they're able to do what they do because we keep saying yes when we should say no. All these Indians. Now, I'm not talking about Native Americans. I'm about all these Indians, Palestinians, all the way to Iranians, Arabs. Okay? They should be locked into the Middle East and cannot leave. You want to practice your religion, do it in the Middle East. You want to walk around looking like a Christmas package, do it in the Middle East. You want to practice Islam and argue Islam against other religion, do it in your own country. You come over here, this is America. And we know that we don't allow you to practice certain things. It'll be very difficult for you also to use that to hide your terrorism. Okay? And a lot of people...
To hide your terrorism. Now, this is interesting because, again, same people, but they support ICE, right? People who walk around with face coverings, no identifiers, terrorizing other people, right? In the name of justice and law and order, supposedly, and yet the way they go about it, right, is using these exact same tactics that he is describing, as if people just walking around in their normal mode of dress makes them terrorists because some Muslim people commit terrorism.
No, you're going to hate me for saying this. But when it comes to terrorism, when it comes to what they did on 9/11, okay, I forgive them, but I don't forget. I forgive them, but we need to take action that has no turnaround. You know, we forgive them, but we actually don't. Like, we forgive you, but you'll never do that again. And Donald Trump.
We forgive them, but we actually don't. I like that one. But you'll never do it again. Well, there's never any guarantee of that. That's why the important component of forgiveness is the ability to move on, right? Because if you skip that part, then you haven't really forgiven.
After coming in behind Bush, well, Obama actually, he tried to finish where Bush left off. He wanted to, okay? But Donald Trump, watching him in action, has turned me against, Mexicans, because I've never seen Mexicans act like this in all my years until Donald Trump tried to get in office. Both times Donald Trump stepped into office, they were, paid or whatever to come over here and just,
Yeah, there's some conspiracy theories that says that they paid people to come over here. Is that what happened? No, that didn't happen. It's an interesting narrative, but not. It doesn't align with reality. And the thing is, if that's your takeaway, right? And so from what he's saying, it wasn't until Donald Trump came into office, because then I started to see all these things. But the problem is that if that's the narrative that's being pushed by the Trump people, and all those people were already there to begin with, right? And the only thing that is happening, the only thing it's doing is changing your perspective to fit the narrative, right? So you didn't have any problem with Mexicans until Trump came in. And then when Trump started trying to deport Mexicans, all of a sudden they were like, holy shit, and, started reacting. And now you're against the Mexicans, who must have obviously been here nefariously in the first place. But really, in reality, they just don't want to be deported because, there's obvious reasons for that. Will Freeman, big love, good to see you.
Mexicans, don't get me wrong, I've met some good Mexicans. I've had Mexicans work alongside me, doing landscaping and stuff like that back in the day and all like that. You know what I'm saying? We've had Mexicans that separated themselves from other Mexicans and became Christians. And they became the kind of Christians that they didn't care if that meant that other Mexicans disapproved. Those kind of Mexicans I can drill with. But I don't trust Mexicans that come here and they think that they don't need to speak English. They think that they don't need to, they think that, everything should be handed down to them so that they don't have to speak English. For anybody to come over here and feel that English isn't important, that's a religious issue. That's a religious issue.
What? How is that a religious issue? I also get frustrated dealing with non-English speakers, and a lot of them happen to be Hispanic, Latino, but not all of them. I mean, it happens with. But anyway, so here's the thing, though. Some of the people you're talking about, and you really wouldn't be able to differentiate which ones are actually legal, legal residents, right? They've immigrated the legal way that you want everybody to do it, and actively choose to, you know, essentially push this thing of bilingualism, which, you know, so while it's personally frustrating for somebody like me who has trouble grasping a second language, right? Actually, it's better for us overall as a society, and this has been proven in other places, in Germany and you know, other European countries where they push bilingual, multilingual education earlier on. Those people get along better in society. They do better, like generally speaking, in communication skills, in mastering languages, and being able to, you know, those skills are portable. Like, so you can take them with you if you travel around the world, if you do work with people in different countries, et cetera, et cetera. So it can't do anything but help you, and yet it only frustrates you if you don't understand the language, and so you see that as like a personal attack against you. I don't know what he's talking about it being religious, but I just think it's funny because, you know, so like my personal experience, you know, we have a lot of Spanish speakers in California, and some who, if they speak English at all, it's broken. You get used to it, right? And the best way that you can adapt to that is to just learn a new language, and it doesn't mean that you have to give up your first language, right? There's no rule that says learning another language means eliminating your first language. But you're basically just demanding that Spanish speakers give up their first language and simply adopt this new language because they've moved. Once again, what are you talking about?
And it's also a racial issue because you're in somebody else's country. Your best friend, other than your wife and your kids, should be an American. Shouldn't be coming over here looking for Mexicans if you're from Mexico. Shouldn't be coming over here looking for Arabs if you didn't bring them over here with you. You shouldn't be coming over here looking for, you know, Palestinians or whatever you are, if you didn't bring them.
You shouldn't seek out those like people with a similar cultural background as yourself, even if you assimilate to a new culture. Like that doesn't make any sense. And it's like the same as like if you're talking about like all these Americans who are moving to like Mexico and the Philippines, and they assimilate to those cultures, and then they invite other Americans to come and join them. Should those people not seek each other out? Should they just go, like, just seek out anybody? Just seek out whoever, right? But obviously your first connection in a new place is going to be somebody who knows that place better than you do, but is also familiar with the place that you came from. Like, that's just common sense, dude.
Here with you. You shouldn't be getting on social media trying to band together in our country with people like you, okay, and segregate yourself from us. To me, that's racism. It is segregation. It's evil. It's of the devil. And it should be banned from our country. There should be no such...
Is that what happened? I mean, I did say that people tend to congregate or whatever, cohabitate with people that have a similar, you know, style sometimes, or like culture. So you do have those like concentrated neighborhoods that are, you know, primarily Hispanic, Latino, primarily Black, primarily whatever. White people are kind of amorphous, right? Because you have white people that will live in strictly like gentrified neighborhoods, and they're like, oh, I don't want to live around the Blacks and the Browns, you know, so they're over here, and they've got a country club or something. You know, or maybe a farm out in rural nowhere, right? And then but you've got all these other white people who will actively say, I want to move to a city where there's lots and lots of different culture, and then I want to, you know, I like Mexican food, so I want to move to one of those Mexican neighborhoods where there's a taco stand on every corner, and that happens to kind of resemble my situation. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. You know, like some people just don't really, like, a neighbor is a neighbor, and the color of their skin doesn't actually matter. And if you fit into a neighborhood, then, you know, that's how people, like, I don't know, gravitate towards those urban centers and do that thing that you're talking about, which is like desegregation and culturally mixing everything into a melting pot. And that's called what do you call that? Anyway, it's a fucking city, dude. It's called a city.
As any Mexican, any Arab, any Palestinian, any Jew, any Chinese person, Korean, nobody having their own neighborhoods. If Chinatown is a thing, if black people can't live in Chinatown or white people can't live in Chinatown, then Chinese people.
Nobody said that black people can't live in Chinatown. Black people can live in Chinatown, but they're gonna keep the iconography, the whole. It's fucking Chinatown. It's gonna look a little bit. It's gonna resemble that place, right? There's a point of putting these things together. It's not, the point wasn't just to send all the Chinese people there. It was so that they could have some place that kind of resembled the place that they came from,
Shouldn't be able to live in Chinatown either, except the people that own the restaurants in Chinatown. And what have we had over the years? We've had Koreans smuggling Koreans into our country. We've had Chinese people smuggling Chinese people into our country. They got caught, but they keep doing it. Okay? It used to be that half of Hawaii was owned by
It was smuggling people? Where's the smuggling?
Now it's half of Hawaii is owned by Filipinos. The Japanese got caught, and now the Filipinos are rising in Japan, in Hawaii. Okay? It's weird. Anything but Americans. Meanwhile, white people ain't no better because...
See, and he's equating the human trafficking, what the cartels do and stuff like that, right, is very different from having a friend who comes over on a some kind of a travel visa or a work visa, and then they overstay that visa. Those are two different things. That's not human trafficking, dude.
White people are in a place that's called Hawaii, and all the wealthy, the Waikiki is almost pro-white. Okay? You go to Waikiki, it's almost segregated. It's almost all white. Okay? Okay? You come down to the lower grade of Hawaii, start coming back towards Honolulu, then we get a mixture of everybody. But you get up there in Waikiki, right on the Ocean River, the beautiful homes up there, the beautiful town square and all like that, you don't see nothing brown, especially a Hawaiian person moving around up there. You might see some Asians up there that are nice and brown. You might see some...
Do you mean Samoan?
Might even see, one black person here and there that's visiting. He ain't living there. He's visiting.
Does he not realize that's part of colonization, colonialism, right? What happened to Hawaii? Those people are still suffering from. Anyway, we're not getting into all that. There's a whole thing with American Samoa and the shit that we've done over there. Sandy, welcome back. Comes back from the basement. Kind of wonder if this fellow was ever taught U.S. history. He must have skipped that year. Yeah, I think it's a bit selective. He might have dropped out, actually. I don't know, honestly. I'm not gonna guess at DeRoy's education. What I know is that he seems to be very confident in what he thinks he knows. Most of the time, and that's a huge red flag for me. So.
And I think that sometimes you need to let...
Oh, well, okay, good. Thank you for listening, Sandy.
what something is, the culture...
Welcome back from the basement.
...be to the people, regardless of their wealth and their money and power, you need to let it be theirs. You should let the people conform to the name of the country or the name of the island. It's called Hawaii. So who should you see when you go to the best part of Hawaii? The best islands. You should see.
Hawaii is not a singular island, and you just emphasize this in your previous point that it is a chain of islands. Hawaii is a region, is not one particular island. It's a chain of islands, sir.
Hawaiians. You shouldn't see Hawaiians homeless on the river. You should see Hawaiians in Waikiki. You should see Hawaiians in other islands of Hawaii. Not Japanese people. And not just Filipinos. It just kills me. It really does. Candace Owens doesn't understand the history of the...
And he's a nutcase. That one was I was like, Oh, he is a nutcase.
Jews.
So I'm tempted to say I think DeRoy plays a character on here, but then I'm like, no, he's just way too good at this. This motherfucker should be in movies if he is playing right now.
And the war between the Palestinians and the Arabs. And if the Jews decided, I'm talking about the current situation, if they decided, now, I was shocked, don't get me wrong. I was shocked to find out that the Jews went so hard on the Palestinians this time that they actually killed their children just like they killed the Jews' children. So who started this? They started.
And here's the other thing about people like this. People like this, you meet them every day and you don't know you're meeting them. They're like, in person, it's some mild-mannered, like a security guard, a cashier at the grocery store or something like that. And you have no idea, like, that they harbor these ideas because they're not out there on the corner with a sign, or you haven't found their YouTube channel, right? Imagine meeting this person in real life and you would just not know. And you would have to get there incrementally to find out all of these things that this person believes. Oh, he's black, I would, maybe assume, all right, well, maybe he is Christian. Okay, we got that. Is he a Trump supporter? Yes. Is he full MAGA? Yes. But wait, how deep does this rabbit hole go? Pretty fucking deep, as it turns out,
And killed many, I don't know the number, it's a lot, Jewish children. I'm shocked that they would pay that kind of evil for evil, but they did it in the Bible days. They're going back in time to what they used to do. You know what I'm saying? There were times when God said, wipe them all out. Don't leave nothing behind. And when they failed, they paid for it. And I believe to this day, the Jews are paying for a long time ago back in Bible history, the day that listened to God. Dealing with Ishmael, not Ishmael alone. I don't think Ishmael is the father of Islam. I think Ishmael is the father of the Arab nations.
And totally ignorant of the facts. Agreed, Sandy.
Okay. Whether Hagar ever actually gave her life to the Lord or not after hearing the voice of the angel, seeing the angel, I don't know. But I do know that
none of that shit ever happened, man.
From that seed of Abraham, that's why they call them Abraham religions. But you see, the difference between Abraham and Ishmael went from Ishmael being Abraham's son to light and darkness, the distance between light and darkness. Just like there's God and there's Satan. So to say that we're all Abrahamic religions is a smack in the face of some of us because, okay, I wouldn't, out of all the religions out there that I would be crazy enough to say I don't even respect at all. I respect anybody that understand that is trying to seek God and they're not sure. If you don't know, I respect anybody that is seeking God and they don't know the true God. They have been brainwashed to really, really honestly believe that it's on the side of Islam. Islam is closer to the truth than Christianity. Catholicism.
Well, see, and he used that word there too, and that makes me question, because I say, when you say seeking God, do you mean seeking truth? Or do you mean seeking a particular figure, a particular entity that you're referencing, right? Because if you're seeking to find the truth, you might find any number of things. You could find a God, you could find multiple gods, you could find some other, But if you are seeking to find God, then you're going to find him. Like, you just have to pick your brand, right? Is that God true? Do you care? What are you really seeking? Are you seeking truth, or are you seeking a comforting lie?
Okay, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists, Christian Scientists, whatever. Okay, if you really, 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 really are in it because you are seeking God, I've met Jehovah's Witnesses that only want to seek God. They're not trying to, but I've met Mormons who are all about what's wrong with Christianity. That's the basis of their religion. Muslims, what's wrong with Christianity? That's the basis of their religion. But I've also met Muslims that only want to follow God. And they really believe that Allah is God, which he's not. Allah is God of the crescent moon. He's not Yeshua. He's not Yahweh. Tell me Yahweh is not Allah in English, or Allah in Arabic. It's not. Look up the word Yahweh and tell me what it is in Arabic. Look up the word Adonai or El Shaddai or the Almighty or the Lord of Hosts or any of that and tell me what it is in Arabic. It ain't Allah. God's name is Yahweh or Jehovah. You can look up Jehovah. Look it up in Arabic. It's not Allah. Allah is God of the crescent moon. It's not the God of the universe. Okay? So,
potato, man. All right. I'm gonna cut out and get out of here. I see Hillary's started the stream, and they're checking this video out too. The link is down there if you want to go check that out. I've seen some people migrated over there, but much love to everybody. Be well and stay trusty. And I'll be back at a later date. So happy Sunday.